Let's get this party started!
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello and welcome in to the final broadcast of the Ike Wingate Show, at least for now. It is great to have you with us. We announced earlier in the week that today would be our last show on this platform. And if you are smart enough to be here, lucky enough to be here, then you're going to be the first of the masses to know. How about that? So thank you for being here. We are going to do a legitimate show. I'm not going to shortchange you here on the last day of this broadcast. We're going to get into a whole litany of news items, including Jack Smith being grilled in front of a congressional hearing. Greenland, that is a legitimate deal, and we are now getting details of the framework and exactly how the U.S. will be involved on that large island. And the church protesters that interrupted that worship service in Minneapolis, the organizer and others have been arrested. What will be the fate of Don Lemon, disgraced former CNN host who is also president? We are going to get into that, plus an Epstein files update. Why haven't we seen the rest of those files? There's actually a good reason, and we're going to get into that. Plus, there's controversy surrounding a large amount of Venezuelan oil that the United States has seized. Thomas Massie is up in arms, says it's not legal. We are going to explore that. Plus, Candace Owens receiving a cease and desist letter from TPUSA. Oddly enough, she was under a contract with TPUSA, and they were paying her. And there were certain stipulations that she couldn't disparage the organization. Did that ever stop her? No. And did she disclose the fact that she was being paid by TPUSA? I mean, by her logic, she was in on the assassination of Charlie Kirk because she was misdirecting and misleading the public away from whatever the potential real reason could have been, right? I mean, that's her logic. I'm not saying it's true because her logic is extremely flawed, but we're going to get into that. And oddly enough as well, in the last year, murder rates have plummeted. How did that happen? How did murder rates go down? What happened? What change was there in the last calendar year? Oh, that's right. President Trump, a law and order president who protects innocent people, is the commander-in-chief, and the murder rates have plummeted under the Trump administration. And economists are eating crow today as the indicators for a strong future in the United States economically are out there and evident, and economists are eating crow about their previous predictions of a Trump economy not going well in the near term. So we will talk about that. And Jasmine Crockett has a new identity. Yeah, a little gun-toting Texan. That's what she is. Rootin' tootin', darn tootin', I tell you what. It's all fake. It's all political theater, and we're going to show that to you as well. And if you want to help us out, great. If you don't, then that's fine too. Who really cares at this point? Hit the thumbs up, repost the live. I see Bree has already done that. You can heart the post on X and repost, and that'll help us in the algorithm as well, whatever platform you happen to be watching on. By the end of the show today, I will tell you what is next for me, and in the meantime, I'll be giving you a legitimate show. If you want to support us, you can still do that financially, helping us cover our costs and the transition to what is next by making a contribution, $5, $10, $20 via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. Jack Smith being grilled today, and of course, he was the large architect of the witch hunt against President Trump, raiding Mar-a-Lago, etc. Jim Jordan eviscerates Jack Smith today in front of the world.
You and Mr. Chairman, I yield back to you.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Smith, is Cassidy Hutchinson a liar? She was their star witness. January 6th committee, their star witness in one of those staged and choreographed hearings they paid the former president of ABC News to put together. She was, in fact, the only witness at this special prime time hearing, Tuesday, June 28th, 2022, 8 o'clock in the evening, and she told some stories. I mean, these were some stories.
She recanted, by the way, changed her story later on. I mean, she said that President Trump tried to grab the wheel in the Secret Service motorcade and take him back to the Capitol. I mean, and then later recanted. Isn't that odd?
President lunged across the back seat, grabbed the steering wheel, tried to drive the car to the Capitol. And I just want to know, you think she was lying?
Chairman Jordan, my assessment of that particular issue is that with respect to the testimony about the president lunging towards the driver, my recollection of her testimony about that is that it was secondhand. She had said she'd heard that from somebody.
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
I'm sorry?
You familiar with the name Tony Ornato?
Yes.
White House Deputy Chief of Operations, Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, right? You remember what he said about it?
As I sit here right now, I do not.
Yeah, he said it didn't happen. How about Bobby Engel? You familiar with that name?
Yes, I am.
Secret Service agent who was actually in the car that day. You know what he said? He said it didn't happen.
Remember how all of these people orchestrated this big, giant lie, this media conspiracy regarding January 6th? I mean, we knew it was bullcrap, right? What sucks is it takes 5 years after it happens before it comes out into the public, and by then people have like, oh, we don't care. I mean, this is what's so frustrating about the deceit and the obstruction or the all-out propaganda and lies and these choreographed conspiracies, these choreographed lie campaigns, is we don't find out about it for years later. Justice is not swift. Exposure is not swift. It's all these years later that they finally called this guy up.
And they both said the first time they ever heard this story was when Ms. Hutchinson testified in the primetime hearing as their star witness of the January 6th committee. By the way, did you ever confirm her testimony about this particular incident?
We conducted, as I said before, our own independent investigation of all aspects of the case that we thought was relevant. We, attorneys from my office.
Did you ever confirm it? That's a simple question.
Well, we interviewed her, I should say, attorneys in my office before.
Did you ever confirm the president leaping across the seat, grabbing the steering wheel, this whole concoction she brought up in the January 6th hearing? Did you ever confirm that?
Right. We interviewed another firsthand witness who was in the car who did not confirm that had happened, but also
your deposition to the committee last month.
So they never actually confirmed this, but this lie was all over the place. And this was their star witness with going after President Trump, by the way.
Smith, you said this. My recollection with Ms. Hutchinson was a number of the things that she gave evidence on were secondhand hearsay. You remember making that statement to us last month in the deposition?
I did, and I was referring particularly to what we're talking about now.
Yeah, and you also said Ms. Hutchinson regarding this particular claim was a second or even third-hand witness. We asked you, if you were a defense attorney, how would you handle cross-examining her if she was on the witness stand? And you said, if I were a defense attorney and Ms. Hutchinson were a witness, the first thing I would do was seek to preclude her testimony because it was hearsay. You remember saying all that?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
That's correct, right? Were you going to put her on the witness stand if you ever got to trial?
We had not made final determinations as to who we were going to call as a witness. We had a large...
You were still considering her?
We had a large choice of witnesses in this
Are
case.
you familiar what Washington Post reporters Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis said in their book? They did this book, 300 some pages book on chronicling the whole investigation at the Justice Department. And here's what they said on page 310. They said Jack Smith had wondered whether some of Hutchinson's claims might be relied upon at trial. Still, at one point, Smith told the elections team he wasn't ready to give up on Hutchinson's account. Ultimately, however, Trump administration officials uniformly, fiercely disputed her accounts under oath. Prosecutors on your team told Smith they wouldn't want to use Hutchinson as a witness in court, and Smith agreed.
Interesting, huh? This was their star witness. Once again, Trump is proven right. Trump is proven right. He is vindicated. And Jack Smith was conducting nothing more than a witch hunt. This is the star witness who didn't even see these things firsthand, and they had direct contradictory testimony regarding the same subject, and he still continued.
Are Carol Leonnig and Aaron Davis, who wrote this, are they lying?
My recollection is that I certainly had not made any final determinations about who we were going to call.
And that's the point. That is the point. The fact that they used her in a primetime hearing and you won't rule out using her, or didn't rule out using her, putting her on the witness stand when everybody knows she wasn't telling the truth, that says it all. That's the degree the left and Democrats were willing to go to get President Trump, putting on the witness stand someone everybody knows is making it up. Everybody knows that. And you were willing to do it. By the way, you know how many times Cassidy Hutchinson was mentioned in their report, the January 6th report? Any idea, Mr. Smith?
I do not.
185 times.
Huh, that sounds like a star witness to me. Star witness. Look at this. Look at this, imbecile. Star witness. She was irrelevant. You are irrelevant. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. And you are blocked forever. I mean, it's the last day I'm going to be blocking people in the chat, so might as well have fun with it. Yeah, she was the star witness. She was what the January 6th committee based all of this crap off of. They ran with it. They promoted it. And she was a total liar. Total liar. She was also tampered with and changed her story by Liz Cheney. So you are the one that needs to shut the heck up. I'm not going to stoop to your level because you don't know what you're talking about. Of course, that person's blocked. They're not watching. But for the rest of you, let that be a warning.
Someone that the whole country knows wasn't telling the truth, and you were still considering putting her on the witness stand because you had to get President Trump, and everybody can see that. We better take a
Okay. So this just exposes very simply the tunnel vision, motivation, the obsession with getting Trump that Jack Smith had. And it is no question, no wonder, no disputing why all of his cases, were dismissed or dropped because it was a big nothing burger. All it was really meant to do, basically, it's aim. It's ready, fire, aim. Let's go ahead and just start shooting out these allegations, shooting out these indictments, shooting out these cases, and we'll worry about actually figuring out how to find him guilty later. The main purpose is to paint him as a criminal so he can't get elected president. And let me tell you, that backfired bigly. It was a total sham, total witch hunt. They were totally going after me because I am fighting for you. I announced I was running for president, and Jack Smith deranged. He's a deranged person, really. That's all they were doing. That's all it was. It was misdirection. It was wool over the eyes. That's all they were doing with these sham cases against President Trump. It's almost exactly like what they did during Crossfire Hurricane when They had some Oppo research that made allegations there was no proof of it, and it was paid for by Hillary Clinton, and the FBI used it. And they didn't have probable cause to continue the FISA warrants. That's been documented well in the Durham report and other places. But they always thought, we'll get him on something. Keep approving the warrants. Keep surveilling. We will get him on something. And that's exactly the way that they went about this Jack Smith witch hunt. I mean, when Trump resisted this ridiculous witch hunt, then they went to the lengths of trying to charge him with obstruction. You're always going to be banned in the chat if you're spamming, so peace out. All right, so again, Trump is proven right, much to the disappointment and liberal tears of the left-wing nut jobs out there. Let's talk about Greenland. Okay, people said, oh, Trump is crazy. Why is he doing this? Well, overheard at Davos. Take a listen.
Gets everything we wanted, including especially real national security.
It's everything we wanted, including real national security.
International security.
How so? Can you give us some details, please?
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon.
So real national and international security, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. A little hard to hear.
It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
Will the U.S. still get Greenland? Will the U.S. still get Greenland, sir?
Say that convinced you.
Say it?
What did Mark Rutte say?
Well, he's a great leader. I think he's fantastic. He's Secretary General who's representing the other side, which is really us too, because, very important member of NATO. I've done a lot for NATO. And it's really nice. I mean, it's a deal that everybody's very happy with.
Does it
Sir,
still include the United States having ownership of Greenland like you said you wanted?
It's a long-term deal. It's the ultimate long-term deal.
Long-term deal, he says. All right. I like this comment from some ding-a-ling down under saying they're from Australia. They know more about Donald Trump's criminal history. You don't know jack. You're from Australia. You don't even live here. You know nothing about what goes on here. All you know about is the global propaganda that you read. You go to other countries, they think Donald Trump is the worst person ever because all they have there are liberal outlets. I've experienced it when traveling, and it is incredible. The propaganda, especially in a place like Australia. So save it and, go ride a kangaroo or something because you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Crikey. You're totally deluded. Anyway, sorry, I got to stay focused here. Okay. So we have this deal going on with Greenland and Greenland. President Trump said, we want total ownership of Greenland. And at one time was floating this idea of invading Greenland. And people were like, oh, no. What is he going to do? He's a lunatic. He's a crazy person. You just don't know President Trump, do you? You just don't know the history of this guy who wrote The Art of the Deal, okay? He floats out something sort of crazy, like a position that seems impossible. No. How could that even happen? How could you get control of Greenland? President Trump would have probably done that. But what he really wanted was the deal for defense, potentially some minerals, but mainly to keep Russia and China out of there because they've been encroaching, and that would not be good for global security. That's really the core of what he had to have. But he anchored high, which is a negotiation tactic. You anchor high, higher than you would actually accept. But that way you move the Overton window, if you want to call it something like that. But you move what's acceptable in the negotiation to your side because you have anchored so high. If you were, let's say, trying to sell a house, you might sell it for a much higher price than, list it for much higher than you're willing to accept. In the same way it works, let's say if you're buying a house, you're anchoring low. The house costs $300,000, you offer them $175,000. That's ridiculous. Now, you may never get the house, but you've pushed what's acceptable as far as numbers go way lower, or in the case that's something you want, maybe way higher, and then you work back from there. People say in a negotiation, you never say the first number. Well, President Trump really doesn't operate that way. He says a number, and it is so high, it shocks people. And he sees what they do. And that is the art of the deal. And that's exactly what he did with Greenland. He got exactly what he wanted. They're still fine-tuning the framework, but it seems the New York Times is reporting that there will be no drilling for Russia. That's part of the deal. And sovereign U.S. bases. And basically, it's like American, U.S. land where these bases are. Okay. And pockets of Greenland will be transferred to the United States, an idea proposed by Denmark. And so these talks are still happening right now. The framework is being created and will likely be signed soon. Byron York last night talked exactly about this negotiation tactic that President Trump uses and ultimately wins with.
About it. And I have to say, this was kind of classic Trump, wasn't it? I mean, Trump wants something, and then he asks for 10 times that, and the other side flips out, and they go back and forth and go back and forth. It becomes a huge news story. Finally, they make an offer. He agrees to it, and it's kind of what they could have gotten in the first place.
And says they're wonderful people and happy to work with them, and suddenly it's this dismount that we could predict by how it's set up at the beginning.
Yes, and the other side's happy because they think they dodged a bullet. So it's just classic Trump.
Yeah.
Precisely. I mean, it is a work of art. It really is art. The way in which President Trump is able to negotiate. And because of his negotiating prowess, the United States of America has benefited greatly. I wish this was just a baseline characteristic and skill that every president possessed. The problem is most people in government have never negotiated a real deal in their life, which is why it's nice to have a businessman in there. But a lot of times the government negotiates various deals and they don't know jack crap about how to negotiate because they've never done it. They're not qualified to be making deals on behalf of the United States of America. But President Trump, of course, is the exception to that. Also, while in Davos, you had Gavin Newsom out there in a real classy move, saying that he brought Trump signature knee pads so the world leaders can suck up to Trump. This is going to make Gavin Newsom look really good. I mean, this guy tries so hard to be like Trump and say things. It always lands so poorly.
And they're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out. And I just want to sort of. It's a serious moment. It actually, but we laugh. Anyway, these are available and in bulk too.
But I want to read you a couple of things the U.S. government has said about you in the last.
Okay. So he's out here basically implying that these people are engaging in, sexual acts with President Trump. That's why they need the knee pads. That's what he's implying. I mean, and the way he does it, and he has printed up freaking knee pads. I mean, how cheesy, just completely cringe. And maybe it's because this dude was on some drugs or something. I don't know. That's what people online are alleging after this conversation where he is fidgeting like he does so well at times.
Speech. You were obviously named by President Trump during that speech. Yeah. What was your reaction to what he had to say about you?
None. I think he said something very different last night. I didn't hear new scum. I heard new green scam. But I mean, come on, it was remarkably boring. It was remarkably insignificant. He was never going to invade Greenland. It was never real. So that was always a fade. And so he says, well, we should negotiate. Well, everybody here has been willing to negotiate for a year. So it had fire and fury, signified absolutely nothing. Even by Trump standards, I was rather curious. And there was boorish parts of it, but those were not even that consequential, including name checking people he likes, people he didn't like. So, I
mean, is he making any sense to you? He's just sort of rambling around things, not really coherently speaking. Maybe it's jet lag. I don't know. But this guy has a habit of acting really strange, especially with his arms. And maybe that was his problem. He's flanked so closely by these reporters that maybe he can't have, he can't gain access to his arms to freely flail them.
Honestly, I was a little disappointed. It was a little nonplussed.
Did it stand out to you that he said Iceland multiple times when he was talking about Greenland?
And that every time a windmill turns, it costs $1,000. And a lot of stuff stands out. None of this is normalized. There's a normalization of deviancy of consciousness and, comments and commentary. No other president, he's held to the curve. He's graded on a curve. I mean, it's really some jaw-dropping and remarkable statements that just, fly in the face of facts and evidence and common sense. So, but you've heard them over and over and over again. Again, for the European audience, that may have been a new speech. My God, there wasn't anything new about that speech for the American audience. The only thing that was new is he said he's willing to negotiate, but wait a sec, that's not new either, because he's been saying we've wanted to negotiate for over a year.
You criticize.
He didn't say anything new, but he said something new, but it wasn't new. I mean, anyway, again, he doesn't have access to his hands. And so maybe it was messing with his brain. But Newsom, a.k.a. Newscomb, the guy who let California burn, right? Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, this is interesting. Another bit of info that happened at the at Davos. Howard Lutnick heckled at the Davos dinner as Christine Lagarde walks out. Okay, this is in the Financial Times. So I always double check to make sure this is a published article. It's based on this excerpt that we see here. And Lutnick was talking on stage and says that is why the transatlantic economic relationship is undergoing a fundamental, and then you hear a boo. Lutnick says, sorry, please quiet down. I was speaking. Again, an unknown voice says, I said boo. It's a colloquial way to show disapproval. Boo. I mean, anybody that says colloquial way to show disapproval, I mean, what a freaking nerd. Lutnick says, is that Al Gore? And Gore is sitting in the crowd and says, F you, Howard. Lutnick says, ow, come on, you're embarrassing yourself. Gore again, F you. Lutnick looked at the crowd and said, who gave the former vice president a second glass of Chardonnay? And then everybody laughed. And so you had Al Gore heckling Howard Lutnick at Davos. I mean, these people have lost their mind. They can't stand it. And you can get a flavor of it in some of the chat on YouTube right now. These people are beside themselves with how much Trump and his administration are winning, and how all of these global leaders really do want an audience with President Trump. They really do want to speak to him about ways to work together because they know this guy means it and he's a winner. And it drives people like Al Gore, who has tried to convince us of these climate scams. It drives them crazy because we're pulling out of these ridiculous climate accords and things like that. And they're losing their minds so much that they're resorting to booing and heckling in the crowd. I mean, this is a former vice president, totally deranged. And I love it. I love every bit of it. All right, now let's pivot over to the the church stormers from Minneapolis. CNN just interviewed this woman who organized this whole thing, and it's remarkable because this woman claims they didn't rush into the church. They sat down and participated in the service. Now, we've seen the videos. We showed you the videos on Tuesday. That is an all-out lie. Indisputed lie. But the CNN anchor says, I'm not going to dispute that. These people hate you. They hate the truth, and they're nothing but a network of deception.
We did not rush into that church. We actually went and sat down and participated in the service. And after the pastor prayed, that is when I stood up and asked him a question in response to his prayer. And then he responded to me. And then I proceeded to ask him about Pastor David Easterwood and how is it possible for him to serve as both the pastor and the director of ICE for Minnesota. And instead of responding to me, as soon as I said the name David Easterwood, the pastor said, shame, shame. And that is when I led us in chants, justice for Renee Good and hands up, don't shoot. So I want to clarify that. We didn't rush in. We didn't bust in. We were a part of the service until I got up and posed that question to the pastor.
All right. And obviously, I'm not going to dispute your saying what happened. I'm merely describing how.
We saw what happened on video, you idiots. CNN is a joke. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to dispute that. Well, it looks like it doesn't matter what CNN says because the Attorney General has directed FBI agents to execute an arrest in Minnesota. So far, they've arrested that woman we just showed you talking, Nakima Levy-Armstrong, playing a key role in organizing the coordinated attack on the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota, with more updates coming soon. Pam Bondi says, listen loud and clear. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship. Mess around and find out. This far-left agitator who organized this church storming raked in over $1 million from an anti-poverty nonprofit. Does this surprise you at all? All of the freaking fraud that goes on, especially on the left, and it's almost always tied to these ridiculous paid protests. She was one of the organizers of this thing. She has raked in over $1 million during 6 years, leading a Minneapolis civil rights nonprofit. Basically, she leads, now she's the founder and CEO of a cannabis company called Dope Roots. She was the executive director of this nonprofit for 6 years. What's interesting is she took in personally from the nonprofit more than the nonprofit actually paid out to help the community. A 2024 tax filing shows that despite the foundation being dedicated to giving out grants to anti-poverty community initiatives, it awarded $158,000 in 2024. That same year, she got $215,000. Let me tell you, you're not an effective nonprofit when the director makes more than the actual work that you do for the community. She also took in another $40K in health benefits and contributions. I mean, that's $255,000 while only giving out $158,000. In 2023, the same thing happened. They sent out $133,000 in grants. She made another $210,000 in comp. Again, this shows you the kind of people we're talking about. What's crazy is here in Northwest Arkansas, where the world headquarters of Walmart is, and the headquarters for the Walton Family Foundation. This is a foundation that makes charitable donations on behalf of the family behind Walmart's founding and their mega war chest of money. The Walton Family Foundation is also a major donor. They gave this Wayfinder Foundation $2.3 million. By the way, that nonprofit's now defunct. How the heck did she get the Walton family to give her $2.3 million? Walmart? What gives? She's a fraudster. She's a scammer. Now she owns a freaking cannabis company, Dope Roots. And she was one of the organizers of this church disruption. And now she's going to be in trouble with the law. The big question is, what about Don Lemon? He pretended to be a reporter, but he was there protesting. He was there talking about, well, protesting is hard. And he's like, we didn't even know they were going to that church. Really, just happened to show up when walked in with them and then accosted people that were in there, arguing with them about whatever you were interviewing them about. How about that? What's going to happen to him? Interestingly enough, we go back to Newsom, who's asked about Don Lemon, and he pretends not to know anything.
It's amazing. Yes. It's a remarkable success.
Governor Newsom, really thank you. Isaac, it's fine, dude. I'm not. Governor Newsom, you remember, I'm friends with Charlie. I was friends, obviously, as you know. Yeah, I always appreciate your interview. Quick question. You mentioned Minneapolis. Any comment on this Don Lemon charging those guys into the church like that?
I literally. It's funny. Someone mentioned Don Lemon and Trump the other day, and so I have no idea what that's about.
Big viral story. He had a bunch of agitators. They ran into some kind of church. Don Lemon.
Into a church?
Yes.
You've been focused on this. No, it's not even at this focus. Literally don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great.
He literally doesn't know anything about it, really. It sounds like Jack Posobiec asked him. Okay, so you're the governor of California, and you are pretending to like be someone who knows stuff about stuff, and you've never even heard of it. Either he was lying, which he's very good at, or I mean, he's not a serious person. He's not a serious person. Okay, and now we find out about the future of Don Lemon's potential arrest. Multiple sources familiar with the proceedings confirm a Minnesota federal magistrate judge refused to sign a complaint bringing charges against Don Lemon in connection with that church protest. Bill Malusian reporting in the last 28 minutes from Fox News that sources tell him that the judge in this particular situation that refused to sign off on the arrest warrant for Don Lemon is Douglas L. Micco. And his wife works as an assistant attorney general in the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison's office, who is completely in on the deception and fraud and everything that's going on in Minnesota. He based on what's been reported regarding this recording of him telling people he's going to defend these Somalis, telling the Somalis, don't worry about it. He's the guy who's supposed to be prosecuting him, but he's literally meeting them, and the meeting's recorded, and he tells them, don't worry, I'm going to make sure this goes away. Of course, yes, his campaign received a lot of donations, mysteriously. But, of course, the wife of the judge that turned this thing down with Don Lemon is closely connected to the swamp there in Minnesota with Attorney General Keith Ellison's office. Wilt Chamberlain chiming in on this and says, this is the kind of insanity that the DOJ has to deal with. A guy commits a crime on video and the resistant judges drag their feet. Okay, let's talk about some of the lies surrounding ICE. Now, one thing you can do for us right now is you can heart this post on X and repost. Please do that right now. I haven't seen anyone do that yet today, which is a little, well, that just sucks, actually. Come on, please help us out. Heart the post and repost on X right now. Give us a thumbs up and repost on Rumble and whatever other platform you're watching on. Hit the thumbs up. Today is our last show. And we are going to tell you, I'm going to tell you where I'm going next. I will tell you at the end of the show. Now, the Rumble channel will be going away at some point. The locals group will not. So you can join the locals group, and I will keep you up to date. That's going to be a good place. One of the main places you can keep up with what's going on is on X at Ike Wingate. Follow me on X at Ike Wingate, and on Instagram. I'll be posting behind the scenes information as well there on Instagram, and my handle is Ike Wingate. So make sure you do that right now. Why don't you go follow me right now? Because if I don't remind you right now, you may forget or never think about it again. So do it right now. Okay, I was taking care of a couple things there. All right. So heart the post, repost on X, hit the thumbs up, repost on all the other platforms, and make sure you're following me on X and on Instagram. My username's the same on both. It's at Ike Wingate. Thank you to David Sling for reposting the live. David Sling says NGOs need to be thrown on the trash heap. They do. Rife with corruption. Rife with corruption. All right, let's talk about ICE. I mean, this is one of the biggest lies that is being told out there day after day after day. The Associated Press with the headline, immigration officers are asserting sweeping power to enter homes without a judge's warrant. Yeah, they're just going into homes. Ain't no thing. We're the Gestapo. That's how the Associated Press reports it. The actual truth is, according to Deputy DHS Director Tricia McLaughlin, she says they have an administrative warrant. The administrative warrants have been used for decades and recognized by the Supreme Court and lower courts in every case that the DHS uses an administrative warrant to enter a residence. An illegal alien has already had their full due process and a final order of removal by a federal immigration judge. The officer also has probable cause already. It's a unique situation with these administrative warrants that give them this access, because it's basically like someone has broken the law, they've been found guilty, and they have not shown up to do their jail time. And they go get them. Okay, so another lie from the AP. And I love ignorant people, and I don't know if this is directed at this, but I see somebody in the chat just say that's a lie. Just because you say it is? Go study a little bit. Here's another misleading headline yet again. The BBC headline reads, ICE detains 5-year-old during Minnesota operation. Oh my gosh. ICE is rounding up children. Wrong. ICE has never, according to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement X feed, they say ICE did not and has never used a child as bait. The child was abandoned. We saw the exact same scenario about 2 months ago. The lying leftist media reported it, that ICE detained a kid. Well, it's because the kid's dad took off when ICE showed up. Do they add that context? No. It's the same situation here. On January 20th, ICE conducted a target operation to arrest this man, Adrian Alexander Conejo Arias, an illegal alien from Ecuador who was released into the U.S. by the Biden administration. Agents approached the driver, and then he fled on foot, abandoning his own kid. Wow, real upstanding guy. These are the freaking losers that the radical left is protesting, rioting, impeding, and obstructing for. This statement goes on to say, for the child's safety, one of our ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended the bad guy, which happened to be his dad. Again, what was the BBC headline? ICE detains a 5-year-old during Minnesota operation. Totally misleading and a lie. The headline should read, degenerate illegal immigrants abandon their children rather than pay for their crime. That's what it should read. That's accurate. They also remind people at the very end here, parents can take control of their departure and receive a free flight and $2,600 They've really upped the payout here. $2,600 if you use that CBP Home app. You can leave and get a free flight out. As long as you're doing it voluntarily, you get paid. Nobody breaks up your family, and you're eligible to come back. What a deal. It's like somebody lands on the, somebody solves the puzzle on Wheel of Fortune associated with a free trip. And that's basically what happens for these people. I mean, incredibly generous. They don't have to do this. They don't have to flee from law enforcement, flee from ICE, and create a traumatic event for their child because of their decisions. Their decisions. We have a real problem keeping our eye on the ball here when it comes to who's actually responsible. It's the people that broke the law, and it's the Biden administration who let a bazillion people in. Don't get it twisted. Let's keep it straight. What's crazy is a lot of dumb people read headlines like from the BBC, and they believe it, and they don't do an ounce of research because they're lazy bums. And so what you have is an indoctrination campaign going on where a lot of people think something's happening in this country that isn't actually happening. And so it radicalizes people, even your mailman. Recently in Minnesota, U.S. Postal Office drives by Border Patrol agents and yells, "Go home, you blanking losers." And it's all caught on video. Thank you, USPS.
Go home, you fucking loser.
He flips them off.
Service.
I mean, this guy is a federal employee. Believe me, this guy will not have a job very long. You're a federal employee, and you're flipping off and calling them effing losers. Yeah, that's not going to end well for this mailman. But that's what I'm saying. These people buy into the propaganda, and they feel emboldened and think that this would be somehow an acceptable way to behave, which is exactly like the situation with Renee Good, where because she has been indoctrinated, she thinks it's a good idea to obstruct and create chaos and block streets and honk the horn. And then when officers tell her to stop and tell her to get out, she disobeys them and drives her car into them. And then her lover says, why did you use real bullets? I mean, these people are disconnected from reality, and outlets like the BBC who promote and perpetuate these lies are complicit in the indoctrination of these radical leftists and complicit in their death. There's a lot of people out there that have zero critical thinking ability, and it's just about emotion. And that is why for the vast majority of people that you see involved in this garbage is white liberal women who are largely alone. They hate men because they're so miserable, no man wants to be around them. And not only do you have indoctrination going on and propaganda going on and a lot of misleading and deception, because you have this environment of people just assuming ICE is the worst rather than understanding the context of these situations, people are allowed to take advantage of it. Case in point, parents who raised $170,000 online by claiming ICE gassed their kids on the way home from a basketball game have found to be lying about the whole thing. Color me unsurprised. They lied about the whole thing. ICE never gassed their kids. It never happened. Yet dummies online who were emotionally manipulated gave them $170,000. This is what I'm talking about. You have a rampant delusion epidemic that's going on inside of the United States of America on the left. It's insane. Bree says, it amazes me how many people speak without doing their own research. It's kind of embarrassing. David Sling says, These people have rings in their noses because it's the only ring they'll ever get. Yeah, they're not, no one's asking them to marry them. But again, big batch of fraud. How do you like that, liberals in the chat? This is what's going on. This is what people on your side are doing. But a little sweet revenge here. Blue Lives Matter posting this. You've got this picture of ICE protesters, abolish ICE, and blah 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 blah. You got to listen to this, okay? It's a little, little tongue in cheek here, basically saying we're not saying this happened, but it happened. Blue Lives Matter says we're not saying that Blue Lives Matter was behind feeding false information to far left anti-ICE protesters. We're not saying we had teams comprised of hundreds of off-duty cops and veterans volunteer to run decoy operations so far left activists thought that they were conducting ICE raids. These off-duty cops driving around pretending that they are conducting these ICE raids. It goes on to say, we're not saying they were in fact just driving around in what appeared to be unmarked vehicles with tinted windows, drinking coffee and listening to Guns N' Roses, being chased down and surrounded by protesters. Oh, these cops driving around, retired and off duty in unmarked vehicles, tinted windows, drinking coffee, and playing Guns N' Roses. They close out and saying this. What we are saying is that if it did happen, it sure worked remarkably well in 9 different states, allowing actual raids to successfully take place unimpeded, helping support the capture of hundreds of criminals. Combat veterans, off-duty officers, and patriotic Americans have had enough of the radical left and are being activated across the country to back our law enforcement. And they're smarter, more skilled, more driven, better trained than the left, and actually enjoy sitting in a deer stand for days on end, just waiting. So basically, these cops ran a massive misdirection operation, a massive decoy operation, and in 9 different states distracted these nut jobs while ICE was able to carry out their orders and enforce the law unimpeded. It's beautiful. That is a masterpiece. That is fantastic. And it should happen everywhere as often as possible because the local law enforcement in Minnesota is not helping. So why not beat them at their own game? I think it's brilliant. I love it. Best thing I've read all day. You like that? Okay. About an hour in, we got more stuff coming up. Want to let you know we'll be announcing this is our last show, very last show on this platform. We'll be announcing what is next coming up. And so and here you go. I call BS on that story. I call BS. Okay. You know what? Go do something productive because you are given information that's sourced from the sources that are involved in it, and you still say it's not true. Then nothing's true. Bugger off, man. Nothing's true. Why even talk about anything? Because nothing's true, right? You're a nihilist. Okay, let's talk about the Epstein files. Okay, we're talking about the Epstein files. Let's do it. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna says that everyone is frustrated because they want to see the Epstein files, and I do too. But here are the facts, she says. As of today, the DOJ has completed a review of over 5 million documents conducted by over 500 attorneys. and they're ready to be released now. She said, I mean, it's all been reviewed. It's ready for release. However, the Obama-appointed judge Paul Engelmeyer has ordered a second review of the documents and is now requiring certification of these documents by a U.S. attorney while simultaneously blocking the appointment of a special counsel, causing major delays. This is what they want to do. They want to delay it. They want to delay it. They've been delaying it. Anna Paulina Luna says she's going to be bringing forth a bill to impeach this judge, Judge Engelmeyer, for obstructing the release of the Epstein files and failing to appoint special counsel. So those of you saying, where are the files? Where are the files? They had to all be reviewed, and they're ready to be released, but an Obama judge has blocked them. Wants an entire second review of all the files and won't allow a special counsel, etc., etc. But I'm telling you, that's not stopping the liberals from spewing lies, especially people on CNN. Take a look at what this little punk did, Cameron Kasky. Okay, he's a Parkland school shooting survivor and co-founder of the March for Our Lives. And there's some awfully big questions surrounding this guy's actual involvement at that shooting, by the way. You could look him up. But anyway, he was on CNN. They platformed him last night. Take a look at what he said.
And he's basically playing Risk because people hurt his feelings, or people ostensibly hurt his feelings. So I am appreciative that the president is being transparent about this. I would love it if he was more transparent about the human sex trafficking network that he was a part of, but you can't win them all.
Cameron's grateful that the president is being transparent about the Nobel Peace Prize and his desires for Greenland. Scott, what do you think about that?
You gonna let that sit? Are we gonna claim here on CNN that the president is part of a global sex trafficking ring, or?
Well,
I mean,
we're going to talk about the Epstein files. Scott, I will do the fact checking
I'm just
as we go along here. Repeat what you said about the global sex trafficking ring.
That Donald Trump was provably very involved with it.
Okay, we'll get to that later. I mean, Donald Trump has never been charged with any crimes in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. But we
but let's be
we'll
adults
talk.
here.
We'll talk about
Let's
that.
be serious.
Satisfied?
All right, so CNN was just going to let that go if Scott Jennings didn't say something. Literally, that's what you're saying? I mean, you know what's next, right? The big retraction. Because you're saying something, yeah, I mean, you're defaming the man. That's, you know, disparaging remarks like that, slander, etc. So good old Cameron Kasky comes out last night on X and says, I would like to retract my comments from CNN last night and truly apologize. Donald Trump was obviously not involved with the giant international sex trafficking ring where women and children were systematically raped by elites. I said that by accident and didn't mean it. Obviously not a sincere apology, but he did it because you can't say stuff like that and not get sued. I mean, you can say it, but you're going to get sued. And he probably will. He probably will. All right, I'm going to take a break real quick. What I need for you to do right now is you need to help us out. Give us a thumbs up and repost. Heart the post and repost on X. Follow me on X at Ike Wingate. This is the last show you're going to see me on this platform in this format. Follow me on Instagram at Ike Wingate. If you want to become a member of the locals group so you can stay up with what's going on, you can join that on my Rumble channel right now. It's a red button that says join. If you go to my Rumble channel to the live broadcast at rumble.com/the Ike Wingate show. It's a bittersweet day, but we're going to give you a real show, and we got more coming up. Stay where you are.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit. Preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IkeWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IkeWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming.
Independent, true, and unafraid. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
Okay. Wow. Welcome back. This is the Ike Wingate Show, final show today. And how about it? I hope you watch those ads. That's going to be the last time you see it. Hopefully. But that's okay. That's okay. Today is our last show. Hold on one second. One sec. All right. Let's see. Woo! All right. We still got more to get to, and then we're going to tell you what's going on, why this is the last show, and what's next. But as I told you, you need to make sure you're following me on X at Ike Wingate, following me on Instagram at Ike Wingate, and then, of course, join our locals group on Rumble to stay in the know. You can still support me too. I'm not going to be mad at you if you still want to be part of the crew that helps support what we're doing. And you can do that at ikenation.locals.com. All right. Talking about a couple more things here. Let's talk about Venezuelan oil. Polymarket reporting that the U.S. acquired 7.9 billion liters of oil from Venezuela. Right? Do I have the numbers right here? There's a lot of zeros. All right. Yeah. Okay. That would be million, and that is so nearly 8 billion liters of oil. They've acquired it. Thomas Massey does not like that. Says selling stolen oil and putting billions of dollars in a bank in Qatar to be spent without congressional approval is not constitutional. Only Congress can appropriate money. The president can't legally create a second treasury overseas for his own piggy bank. Wake up, Congress. Okay, that's how Thomas Massey presents this situation. L.H. Gray spells it out this way. You're grandstanding. You're a fraud. The oil is not stolen, first of all. It's lawfully seized Venezuelan crude from Maduro's criminal regime. Tankers and cargoes violating U.S. sanctions that Congress itself authorized through multiple statutes. Yep. Your statutes are what Maduro has violated. Okay, so maybe you should look in the mirror there, Massey. Look, I like a lot of the principles that Massey stands on, but the guy has gotten delusional. Goes on to say the executive branch under IEEPA powers, Congress delegated, blocks, seizes, and forfeits sanctioned property. The executive branch under the powers, the IEEPA powers that Congress delegated, allows the president to do this. It's not theft. It's enforcement of law against a narco-terrorist state that has starved its people and funded Hezbollah. Calling it stolen makes you sound like a Maduro apologist or a useful idiot. Let's see. The allegation that the funds are being funneled into Trump's personal piggy bank. The funds from these sales are parked in a protected Qatari account precisely to shield them from predatory creditors, because Venezuela owns money to ConocoPhillips and others, Crystal X, etc. They hold billions in valid U.S. court judgments against Maduro's regime. So if somehow there's money associated with Venezuela, these companies are going to take it because they rightfully have judgments against them. But what Trump is doing, he's not trying to hurt the oil companies, but because it's Venezuelan oil, he's putting it in this Qatari account to preserve the money to give to the Venezuelan people under a future legitimate government, not let it be siphoned off by vulture funds in U.S. courts. It's a textbook sanctions policy with a neutral offshore escrow to prevent asset dissipation, right? Pretty freaking clever. We've done variants for Iran, Russia, and Afghanistan. It's strategic. It's not corrupt. It's not for President Trump. And only Congress can appropriate money is constitutional illiteracy. These aren't U.S. taxpayer dollars drawn from the Treasury requiring annual appropriation. Ha, ha, ha. Ding, ding, ding. Little bit different, Thomas. They're forfeited foreign assets. They're proceeds of sanctioned property, and the Congress doesn't really have any oversight over that. The executive has longstanding authority to manage, liquidate, and direct such funds under existing statutory frameworks without new line item appropriation each time. If every seized tanker needed a separate vote in Congress, sanctions would be toothless, he says. Your purported originalist reading collapses the moment you touch reality. And he goes on to say, you're not defending the Constitution, Thomas. You're posturing for clicks. And that's really what he's become, unfortunately. and he's just eviscerated from a legal standpoint. All right, Candace Owens has received a cease and desist letter from TPUSA over her Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories, saying she violated a non-disparagement agreement, that's according to Owens, on video calls December 4th and 15th. I requested a retraction of Miss Owens Farmer's disparaging statements. Is that her like married name? Candace Owens Farmer? Retraction regarding these disparaging statements, and again provided notice that the injuries caused by her statements are substantial and continuing to accrue. She declined to issue a retraction. To the contrary, she stated that she doesn't feel any differently about the people that she mentioned on the show. And blah, 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 blah. December 2nd, I highlighted Ms. Owens' ongoing contractual, that's a hard one. Contractual obligation. It's a contractual obligation. She was not supposed to make any disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about TPUSA or its employees, et cetera, et cetera. There is a speaking agreement that she signed where she agreed not to do that. And she was paid as part of that agreement. And her agreement remains in effect for 12 months following the term of her agreements, which were terminated on December 2nd, 2025. Now, it is believed, yes, that Charlie Kirk was going to have her speak again on stage with TPUSA. She signed a deal to do that, which money was attached. So she was under contract during the time that she was making all these allegations about Charlie Kirk. And specifically in that contract says she was not allowed to make disparaging remarks, and they weren't allowed to make disparaging remarks about her, which is probably precisely why they haven't called her out specifically, because they were honoring the agreement that they were under through this speaking contract. They tried to do it the right way, meet with her directly and calm it down. And Candace Owens agreed for a little while, but just got worse and worse and worse. And now they finally just said, you got to cease and desist. And now Candace Owens is making out to be this, that's what a rich girl does when she says, oh, my daddy's more powerful than yours. I said this in early December that Candace Owens is done. She's done. Mark my words. It's the middle of the end. The beginning's already begun. We're getting to the middle of the end, and then there's going to be the major crash out at the end. Bree says, yes, Farmer is her marriage name. It's really interesting, the delusion that has occurred with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey, Candace Owens. Tucker Carlson's now in that group. It's pretty wild. Okay, let's see. Let's talk about this. Okay, wait, I thought, President Trump's policies weren't working. Well, it's interesting that the lowest murder rate since 1900. Good grief. When I first read that, I saw 1990, and I was like, that's great. Wait, 1900? You're telling me we've got the lowest homicide rate per 100,000 residents than we've had in 125 years dating back to 1900. Look at the graph. Graphs don't lie. This is the lowest murder rate in the United States of America since any of us have been alive, unless we got somebody out there in the audience 126 years old. Law and order works. Deterrence work. And by the way, when you're getting a lot of these freaking illegal immigrant criminals out, the people that do a lot of this murdering, the rate's going to go down. Trump was right again. Let's not stop there, though. An economist just went on TV saying that the economists got it wrong when it comes to Trump's economy. They can't believe, through all the changes, through the downsizing of federal workers and jobs, through the tariffs, The uncertainty, how well the economy is doing.
The economy at a rate 3% or faster, we're probably going to see an end to this dearth of jobs creation. We're going to do a lot better in terms of jobs creation, and that might well lead to quarters where we have the economy growing by at least 4%. I want to add that we economists were horribly wrong on the strength of the economy, especially in the second half of 2025. You know, many were looking for growth no faster than 1.5%. You point out 4.3% growth in the third quarter. We want to also consider the fact that real consumer spending at 3.5% was far better than what you would expect given this very sluggish pace of jobs creation. Very low jobless claims. That tells us companies may not be hiring, but they are not firing. They're not resorting to layoffs.
Okay, can we go back to the key line here in this whole thing? I think it's somewhere around here.
On the strength of the economy, especially in the second half of 2025, you know, many were looking for, were horribly wrong. We economists were horribly wrong.
Huh. Would you look at that? Would you just look at that? Just get a good look at that. Would you just look at it? We were horribly wrong. Trump was right. Again. My gosh. I wonder if he ever gets tired of being right so much. I wonder if the liberal tears ever dry up because he is right so often. It must drive them crazy because remember, they hate winners. The left hates winners. The left doesn't like Donald Trump because he wins again and again and again, and he makes no apologies for it. As I stated the other day, winners don't hate winners. Game recognizes game. The only people that hate winners are people that can't win themselves. They're jealous, they're envious, and by definition, they're what's known as losers. Losers hate winners. And President Trump is a winner, and that is exactly why so many people on the left have what's known as Trump derangement syndrome, because they cannot stand a winner, because they themselves don't know what it's like, because they are losers. They could change. They could become winners. They could realize that their success actually doesn't depend on anyone else but themselves. They can understand that just because someone else is successful doesn't mean they're taking something away from your possibility of success. See, that's a scarcity mentality. Oh, they're doing so well. They're taking away my opportunity to win. I mean, even in the same industry, it's really a bad strategy when you're competing against someone and, you know, you have this idea that every time they win a contract, there's not enough to go around for you. There's always opportunity out there. You just have to be innovative. And if you have a scarcity mentality, any success that someone else has is at your detriment, and that is just false. Don't think that way, but so many do. So many have that thought that because there's billionaires, it means that there's not enough to go around, and that's wrong. Get out there and make it happen. Now, I'm not okay with monopolies. I'm not okay with special treatment. That's not, crony capitalism is not capitalism. Okay, so make no mistake. But all being fair, when it comes to success, it's in your hands, man. It's in your hands. If you quit looking at other people and seeing what they have and measuring yourself by it, you would be much happier. If you quit looking at people who win and saying that's wrong because you haven't been able to win, that is paralyzing. Stop thinking that way. Stop hating on winners and become a winner yourself. You can do it, but so many people never will. They will be stuck in the mindset that they can't win because other people already are. Shame on you. Shame on you. We can't have a successful future as a country if people are thinking that way. And that is largely the thinking on the left. They hate Donald Trump because he's a winner. And that they're convinced that they're always going to be losers except for the help of the government. We can't win unless we have help from the government. That is a losing strategy. If you want to keep doing it, go ahead. But it's your own fault if you stay in that rut. But great news on the economy. I mean, now that we've brought that full circle there, your inspirational moment, we got a great economy coming our way. Incredible GDP numbers trending in our direction, low gas prices and tax cuts and all those things. And the economists were wrong. And we got a safer country. And housing is going to come down. They're going to, they're going to be introducing some ways to do that. But just the fact that they're getting so many of the illegal immigrants out that are taking up the housing, and they're floating these laws to where some big conglomerate cannot gobble up all the housing for a hedge fund, which is artificially driving up the cost of housing. If they do those things, my friends, it is going to be a new dawn in America because housing could be affordable again. So hold on, hang on. It's only been 1 year and things are already turning around, but this ship was headed toward an iceberg, and we have dodged that and are heading back in the right direction. It just takes a while, and President Trump has done it so far with organically renovating, organically correcting this economy. All right. Anybody, anybody missing seeing Jasmine Crockett? You Texans out there, she is running for Senate. She has no chance, but that hasn't stopped her from pretending she's a cowgirl.
Listen, I'm a gun-toting Texan, right? So I own firearms. I'm licensed to carry, and I also care about agriculture. Way before I was running for the United States Senate, I served on the ag committee. I'm the girl who's actually lived in rural Texas. I'm the girl that has actually driven farm equipment.
Anybody believe that? Anybody believe she's a gun-toting Texan? I mean, my gosh, she's a chameleon. She code switches the way that she talks, depending on the environment in which she's speaking. Of course, right here, she's out there at some ag event, and she's over here being a gun-toting Texan. Yeehaw, rootin' tootin', darn tootin', yeehaw. What's it going to take? I've driven farm equipment before. I was on the ag committee. Who gives a rip? That's probably the committee they give people who don't have seniority yet. I mean, come on. Come on. One more time. What did she say? A gun-toting Texan.
Listen, I'm a gun-toting Texan, right?
Listen, I'm a gun-toting Texan. Yeah, whatever, dude. You might be, but you ain't the kind of gun-toting Texan that Texans like, and they see through your garbage. They see through your garbage. All right, check this out real quick. YouTuber Rachel, Miss Rachel. I mean, who are these people, right? But she broke down in tears after her followers saw that she liked an anti-Semitic comment. She liked a comment that said something about... I can't remember what it actually said, but she says it was an accident. She's on here crying. She's been like a pro-Palestinian voice out there. But she's crying because someone brought it to her attention that she liked this comment. Basically, she got found out.
I did a comment and I accidentally hit like and hide. I don't know how or why.
You accidentally hit like and then also hit hide. Interesting.
I've accidentally liked comments before. It happens. Like, I'm a human who makes mistakes. I would never agree with an anti-Semitic thing like the comment. We have Jewish family. A lot of my friends are Jewish. I delete anti-Semitic comments. I have proof.
Okay. So, she's crying because she liked and hid this thing. Anyway, I just find it funny. I kind of find it funny on both sides that people are like, how dare you like something? And then she's crying because they found her out. And this is the world we live in today online. I think she's just, I think she's pretending to be upset. I don't think she's actually crying because of the comment. She's crying because she got found out. Wouldn't you say? I mean, that's probably a safe bet. All right, let's do it. Our very last, I hope to continue this segment at some point in the future. Okay. But for now, it will be the last triggered liberal on this program.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
We know that liberal white women are the worst, aren't they? Even, or especially when it comes to ICE. They can't stand it.
Fucking push me. You're taking it.
There's probably some bad words on here, just in case some young ears are listening. This guy's being detained at a Home Depot. And they you know, again, they don't know who this guy is. They don't know what he did, but yet they'll sure act like they know and that they have some kind of authority over federal law enforcement.
Before I can take a phone number from him?
You need to stop.
You need to stop kidnapping people off the fucking street.
100%.
You just dragged him away when I'm trying to call his family for him.
We're making an arrest. You need to stay
Show
back
me your
from my
arrest
red.
warrant then. Show me your arrest warrant.
I don't need to show you
Not
anything.
because you're a liar.
So she can call the criminal's family for him like he's such a victim. And then she demands, some random chick in yoga pants in the parking lot, is demanding that federal ICE officers show her the warrant. Who the heck does she think she is?
Not an interested party. You have no right to see that.
Stop! You guys are kidnapping people off the fucking street.
What's interesting is she has no idea who these people are. I mean, they could be taken in for rape. I would just say, you know, if you're going to defend the ICE agent if you're going to defend the illegal immigrant, then you must take the illegal immigrant home with you for 24 hours. I mean, this woman would come back half dead. More than likely.
We good?
Yep. Yeah, because what? Because someone came over to help them, you have to rush and get them in the fucking car?
Being obnoxious in the lady.
Not being obstructive. You're being obnoxious.
I'm not being obstructive. You're being obnoxious.
100%. 100%.
You guys have no conscience.
Yep.
If you're doing something right, take your mask off then.
You dox them, you lunatic. That's why they have to. They didn't always do this.
Cowards.
And unmarked cars.
Look at me. I was trying to help them and you have to hurry up and get out of here?
Yeah, they're taking the people to jail, you dummy. They wouldn't be in unmarked cars if you people weren't terrorists.
You.
Are these more people in unmarked cars? Yeah. Yeah, just trying to run us over.
Yeah.
Like just all these vehicles, just unmarked cars.
Yeah, show your face. If you're not a fucking coward, you're doing something that's lawful. Show your face. Get out of our fucking city.
You people try to kill ICE agents. It's happened many times. You've doxed them. You've put their addresses online. Their families, their children have had death threats against them. That is why their faces are hidden, you idiots.
Get the hell out. Go find a job that you can feel good about.
Go find a job you can feel good about. I mean, these people are making good money and they're getting criminals off the streets that are raping our people and murdering our people, including children.
No kidding.
That's like a superhero's job, and they're getting paid for it.
If you're proud of your job, take your fucking mask off.
Seriously.
It's disgusting.
Don't you have anything better to do? I mean, don't you have a freaking piercing to get, or, you know, a whole grain muffin to bake or something like that? Don't you have anything better to do, lady? Yeah. So these liberal white women are the worst, man. They are the absolute worst. Don't you have anything better to do, for crying out loud? Anyway, there we go. Wrap it up there.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think it was going to happen. I kind of just thought we would do a show for a long time and I'd never have to get to this point, but it is time. Today's last show is upon us. I want to say thank you so much for so many of you. I know, not everybody is able to be here every show, but many of you have been here for a lot of shows, going back to 3 years this week that I started a podcast that evolved into an online video stream show sometime February, March of 2023. And that's kind of where it all started. One thing after another, trying different things, growing an audience. And it was interesting how fast the content that I was creating caught on an unlikely platform like TikTok, which was absolutely wild to me. My little brother, Zach, said, you should do videos on TikTok. And I said, that's ridiculous. I don't want to dance on video. That's weird. I'm too old for that. And he said, no, it's not a bunch of dance. I mean, that's on there, but there's plenty of other content on there. So I went on there and I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. So I started putting out videos. At that time, you had to have 10,000 followers to be able to go live. We were able to get that pretty quick through the views on our other videos, and was able to start going live, and was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty awesome. A lot of people watching. The problem is TikTok is full of censorship. In fact, I read a story today that they were censoring ads for like a Christian movie. TikTok is not good. It's not good. They figured out an algorithm, but I'd say YouTube's gaining on them on being able to serve up content to people, because I've seen the results. But nonetheless, it was a big part of the story early on, because we legitimized what we were doing, but TikTok kept setting us back without explanation and censoring us, and then ultimately killing our account twice. But during that process, we continued to create videos, produce videos. We had a team of people. I was paying for it out of my pocket for a couple different producers to create the type of content and the format of content that would work on various social media platforms. And so it was just an investment. It was a dream. I've always wanted to be a news guy. I've always wanted to be a commentator. I kind of thought at this stage in my life that was just not part of the plan. I've been in media for almost 27 years now, whether it's radio, whether it's on air, whether it's programming, whether it's syndication and being part of syndicated shows. I've produced syndicated radio shows, and then I've worked behind the scenes on syndicated shows, managing marketing budgets and growing audience share by landing new radio stations for a show you may have heard of called The Dave Ramsey Show, along with collaborating and securing and negotiating contracts with distribution platforms like iHeartRadio. I was part of the team that got Dave Ramsey his own iHeartRadio channel. I was also part of the small core group of people that launched Dave Ramsey's show on video and created his own channel. And so I've been part of content. I've been part of the design and programming and direction of content. I've been part of the behind the scenes business aspects of media and content, and then founded and launched my own advertising company through digital signage and billboards and things like that. I sort of thought that might be the end of kind of my career, as I sold the company, made a lot of money. But the interesting part of the story is that because I sold that company, it allowed me the time and space to pursue the ultimate dream, which is this. And that is where the story all comes together. It's much like the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones was not someone who grew up in oil, actually. He pursued it after he pursued many other things, but he'd always dreamed of owning a football team. It's interesting. He's from Arkansas as well. And whether you like Jerry Jones or not, his story is inspiring. And I didn't know it until I watched this documentary recently on YouTube, not YouTube, on Netflix. And basically the way that Jerry Jones summed it up was, I was able to pursue the dream and sell it so I could pursue the ultimate dream. And it was through success in oil and being able to sell that company that he was able to pursue his ultimate dream to own a football program. And I find, some relatability in that story, obviously a much larger scale for Jerry Jones than myself and my wife. But that's exactly, as I look back, what has happened because of the success of selling that company. It allowed the time and space to be able to pursue the ultimate dream, building my own state-of-the-art studio in our home and being able to create this professional environment, this perception of, hey, this guy looks legit because his setup is legit, his sound is legit. And it all goes together to create the kind of perception that you need if you're trying to convince people that you're trustworthy and you're a professional. And that's exactly the purpose it served. There were times when I wanted to quit. There were times when I thought, this is ridiculous. There were times when we just had setback after setback after setback. And mind you, this entire time, I have a wife and children, and I am pumping money into something that is not making money. It is a money pit. Now, we were able to raise funds from people, but it's never even come close to being able to pay for just my out-of-pocket expenses. And that's not me, being ungrateful. That's just telling the reality is every contribution that was made certainly helped mitigate that large cost. And so many of you are part of that, that helped us in helping bridge the gap to at least stem some of the bleeding. And we had some pretty good months where we actually broke even. But through the large investment on the front end and the many months of losing a lot of money, it's money I'll never get back, but it was an investment in belief. It was an investment in the dream. It was an investment into the ultimate arrival at legitimacy. If somebody would just give me a chance, I believe I could do well for them. We tried to build our own platform. We tried to get collaborations with other content distribution networks. But without some big money backing somewhere else or some huge sponsor or something like that, it's a very, very difficult world to break into. And so there were plenty of times I prayed to God, what do you want me to do? Because we're doing everything we can and we seem to never be able to break through. I landed a pretty large sponsorship about a year and a half ago. When I was about to give up, we landed a big sponsorship. It was pretty sizable, and it went a long way to say, okay, this is viable. 2 weeks after we launched that sponsorship, they backed out and changed the rules on us that we agreed to for the key benchmarks for success. They just pulled the rug out from under us. It was really, really disappointing. At the same time, TikTok banned our account. Extremely devastating. And most logical people would say it's time to stop. And I did stop for about 3 months and tried to pursue other opportunities. And when President Donald J. Trump was nearly killed in Butler, Pennsylvania, it drew me back in, and the pull, the tug, the rock in my shoe that wouldn't go away was, this is what you are meant to do. Do you believe it or not? And we've never turned back since then. We've been on consistently since that point. Because when I'm not doing this, I believe I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing. Life's not just about making money, but obviously you need to do it if you're going to support your family. And so we stayed at it, and through the generous opportunity from Newsmax, was given the opportunity to start appearing on the network, given that opportunity directly by the CEO, Chris Ruddy. And I thought that was going to pave the way, but 2 long years of working and doing these appearances, we were able to get the contributorship to be paid to start appearing, which was a huge deal, but it still was not enough to support my family, but an incredible opportunity. We agreed that we would work together to develop the possibility of me doing a weekend show. And so I waited for about 6 months thinking that maybe that opportunity had passed me by. You know, I went to New York in August and was on air for a few days and had a very, very, very warm reception and loved all the people there. It was incredible. I was asked by one of the executives at that time, would you ever move to New York? And I immediately answered, no, that would never work. My wife would never do it. He said, well, my wife doesn't live here. I see her on the weekends. And I thought, I can't do that. I love my wife, like seeing her too much, and my kids too. And so kind of left it at that. But my prayer has been for the last 6 months, God, wherever, well, longer than the last 6 months, but especially the last 6 months, has been, I will go wherever you send me. Wherever you send me, I'll go. I just want to be useful. Charlie Kirk's assassination was another sort of linchpin moment in this journey where I couldn't imagine doing anything else but being in the fight for truth. If anything, Charlie Kirk exposed that so many of our lives, what will they be about when we're gone? I mean, ultimately, it's about eternal hope and our eternal destination. But what do you do with the time you're given here? What are you doing with the skills that you've been given? Or maybe the financial blessings that you have. What are we doing with them? Charlie Kirk's death was a spotlight in the face to me, realizing that if I breathed my last today, did I come anywhere close to being a good steward of the gifts God has given me, and have I left my mark not for my sake, but for the sake of truth and the sake of the greatest hope, and that is Jesus Christ. What have I done? Not enough. So the urgency began to spin up in me to get about doing what matters in this life. And I believe getting the truth out there is a noble cause because it's not very popular. You take a lot of flack for it, and sometimes you could even lose your life for it. I believe it's noble. I believe it's righteous. And I believe it's absolutely required in my life. And so all of those little things had to happen. And eventually thinking, what if there was an opportunity to go to New York? I was wrong. My wife's willing to do it. Because she sees how important this mission is, and she believes in me. Don't try to talk her out of it, okay? And so I've signed a deal with Newsmax to move to New York City to be part of their anchor and their host group. I can't disclose all the details. Some of them are unknown at this time as far as where I'll be and what I'll be doing, as far as the time of day, et cetera, et cetera. Likely you'll see me on Newsmax too sometime soon. You'll see me in the studio, though, in New York City for the foreseeable future. That's what we've worked so hard to get to. That's what all the sacrifice was for. Through all the disappointment, the unknowns, the challenges, the anger at times, it was all to be able to get to a point of legitimacy. To get to the point of opportunity, to get to the point of just getting a chance to be part of something bigger than myself. It was all worth it, every last second, because it was all meant to be driving toward this moment. In the middle of it, you think, what is happening? What is God doing to me? Why are you punishing me? What is it that I'm not learning about this situation? What more do you want from me? But let me tell you, there's not a moment wasted in the economy of God when it comes to carrying out his plan. And even though at times it's dark, you're in the wilderness, you are not alone, my friend. If you know Jesus Christ and you know that you were able to speak directly to the Almighty. Never alone, even though it might feel that way. And these are tests sometimes. We build our faith. This is a muscle that must be exercised and built over time and must grow. And let me tell you, it's a painful process, but it is worth every second. It's humbling. I'm so grateful, and my gosh, am I so excited. When I went to New York City and filled in for those 3 days, I felt like I was doing exactly what I was put on this planet to do. I've never felt like that about anything I've ever done in my life. I hope one day you could experience that because it was amazing. I didn't really actually think that I could feel that way doing work, but I did. And so I feel very confident. I feel very thankful that I'm able to do what I was put on this planet to do. And while this is a huge thing, a huge opportunity, and there's so many ways in which this has happened and this is going to happen that are not typical, the reality is we are just getting started. I am hungry and determined to use up every ounce of ability and energy that I have been given to be useful, to be trusted, to be a beacon of light by delivering the truth. I'm not going to get it perfect. I'm going to fail many times. But I can tell you, I am not unclear on what my mission is. So that is the story, my friends. I could have done a big farewell show with a bunch of past guests or whatever, but we don't need the fanfare. This has always been about me talking directly to you. And so in that sense, I just wanted to bring it to you directly and tell you how incredibly grateful I am for you, for being here, believing in me. So many of you believed in me when I was wondering if I had lost my mind. You may not know it, but there were days where I just thought, this is a lost cause. But one of your comments or some bit of encouragement gave me the shot in the arm to take one more step, to do that just one more day. And those days added up. And so this is as much of a win and a celebration of you as it is for me. Because so many of you have been down in the trenches, believing in this, supporting it, being part of the show. I mean, entertaining me just as much or more than I've ever entertained you. That's what I'll miss the most, honestly, is seeing what you're saying in the chat, interacting with you. But who knows? Hopefully there's some mechanism for something like that in the future. I don't know what it is. This isn't a tease. It's just saying I hope there is. I hope through the locals group we can maintain some sort of conversation. Because I believe, especially in the news business, but especially in politics, you cannot forget the voice of the people. There are many times we may think, maybe in the news business, that we know what the American people think, and then you are surprised when you actually ask them. I think it's super important to maintain that connection, to hear and see what real Americans are thinking, what they're feeling, and what they're saying. And that's what the chat did for this program, and I hope there is a way to capture that same mechanism into the future. So I hope you'll join the locals group. I hope that we can still facilitate that kind of interaction. Okay? And if you want to join that, it's ikenation.locals.com. Okay? I can't see what's happening on YouTube. I mean, there's all these people in the chat I've never seen before in my life. I hope to never see them again. But I'm going to look over here on Rumble. Let's see. Mostly Penny says, hallelujah. Just when we thought it couldn't happen, it did. Maybe one day I'll write a book about it. It's just an amazing story, without a doubt. Bree says, so very proud of you. I'm so happy for you and your family. And Bree, thank you so much. Bree has been an adamant financial supporter, but also in just an encourager of this show for so long and for a couple years now. Mostly Penny was there way back on TikTok. And again, so many of you are part of the success of this whole thing. All right, Coupon says you did it. I have been here for so long with you. I'm so happy for you. Congrats. I'll be tuning in. Please notify us on X so we know when to tune in. I will still miss this show. It was so fun. Thank you, Coupons. That is exactly what I'll do on X. I'll make sure to keep you all posted. Mostly Penny saying it's been a long and bumpy road, but you made it. On-air Trump voice will be hilarious. Yeah, we'll see how I can deploy that. It may go away for a little while, but it's coming back at some point. I can promise you that. David Sling, you guys gave him the strength to keep going. Indeed, David Sling, very much part of that, as well as MAGA Mima, right? A big part of it, without a doubt. Mostly Penny says he gets his humor from me and David Sling. I would love to get some of your quips. I'd love to maintain access to some of those because they are many times inappropriate, but most times quite funny. Mostly Penny says he has a face for radio. SCKY guy says, give us one more mediocre impression before signing off. What are you talking about, mediocre? This is not mediocre. Mostly Penny, never doubted you for a minute, not even back in the TikTok days. Well, I appreciate that. That makes one of us. It's funny, this was the first thing that I've ever done where I'm the product, and I don't say that in a weird way. It's very vulnerable. It's one thing when you're selling a product and people are like, I don't like that. And you're like, well, you should like it. It's a great product, But when the product is you and people reject it, or it doesn't take off, or it doesn't get where you think it should be going, it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, what am I doing? It's a different vulnerability than I'd experienced before. Now it's very normal, but in the beginning it was quite challenging. But you doubt your own abilities sometimes, and it's the people around you that see what you can do that are a big source of that energy and encouragement. I really don't know who SCKY guy is, but he says, I'll truly miss your podcast. I have followed you for almost the entirety. I'm so happy for you. God bless you and your family. Unless it's a username I just don't recognize. I don't know. But anyway, hey, great. If you've been around, I appreciate that. I appreciate the comment. Mostly Penny says, sign me up. I'll send quips like you wouldn't believe and faster than you can keep up. I'm sure of that. SCKY guy says, I was just joking about the mediocre impressions. Good thing, because these are award-winning. Nobody does them like me, okay? All right. And then you have, Bill Clinton. I tell you what, I did not have sex with her. Not a single time. And, Obama. Obama's a bad one. Not true. It's not true. Yeah. Hopefully, there will be a place for some of that in the future. We'll see how it goes. It depends on a lot of different things. I hope you'll stay in touch. I hope you'll follow me. And I hope you will continue to pray for me and my family in this transition, because it is a big, big transition for a lifelong Southern group of people, lifelong Southerners. But I got to tell you one thing that I've realized in the last 5 years, after having some success and thinking I would just coast. Last thing I'll say to you, there's no fulfillment. There's no purpose if your life is just about comfort. At least for me. The most miserable time in my life is a time when I didn't have to work for money, but had no purpose in what I was doing. It's counterintuitive, I think, to our culture. I mean, it's sort of like once we achieve success, life is perfect. If someone's not telling us what we have to do, life is perfect. If we don't have to worry about where money's coming from, life is perfect. Let me tell you, what most of us don't realize is how having someone tell us what to do, or even having customers tell us what they need, and having to do things to make money, they actually keep us in a space of purpose to where we at least are utilizing our skills. I'm telling you right now, having enough money doesn't solve things. Chilling and not having any responsibilities is not fulfilling. I took about 6 months off, and I'm just telling you, I did not like my life. I'd built up this idea in my mind that if I just get to this place, if I just get to this place, if I just do this, and I don't have to worry about any of these things, I'll be happy. What I realized in this last 5 years is true happiness comes from purpose. True fulfillment comes from a mission. And that as long as I'm living and am healthy, I will never retire. I can't do it. I learned that about myself. I can't do it. I'm grateful for that lesson, although it was painful in the process. I say that to you because if in your mind you're thinking, if I just achieve this or just achieve that, I'll be happy, or I'll have a peaceful life. While you may not like every day you go to work, or every responsibility you have, or every time you have to take care of your kids or do this, you have a purpose. You are making a difference. That's noble. So take it for what it is. This is not a lecture. This is not, oh, hey, look what I know and what you haven't figured out yet. It's just, hey, this is what I thought would be the case, and here's what it actually was. And my gosh, was I wrong? And I'm telling you, this is what happened. Take it or leave it. But I'm grateful for the journey. And, you know, even in that process, some of the things that I thought I was insulated through some of my success, and some of those things, I trusted the wrong people, you know, to do investments in some certain, you know, real estate and things like that. And those things went sideways. And so basically, like this idol that I had relied on as a safety net went away. And I realized that God used all of those things to keep pushing me in a direction to drive hard toward this goal and to be faithful in it. And I messed that up plenty of times, believe me. But I'm grateful for what he's taught me through this. And I hope that I can be a good steward of what he's given me. And I hope that I can provide value and to and to be someone who is worthy of your trust and watching, whatever I do in the future. I know it's something that has to be earned without a doubt. So anyway, I don't want to ramble too long. I really appreciate you indulging me in this announcement. I, again, am so grateful for all of you. God bless you. I wish you much success. And I know our paths will cross one way or another, but I just appreciate your encouragement along the way. Do not be a stranger. And make sure you join us over on the Locals channel, ikenation.locals.com. Okay, all right. We got some old names in the chat. I can't just ignore them. You used to call me Sucky Guy, but it stands for South Central Kentucky Guy. Man, that must have been a while ago. I'll take your word for it. A lot of this stuff runs together. Nate says, I've been with you since TikTok days. Your show will be missed. Thank you, Nate. I wish we would have heard from you a little more in the chat the last year or so, but I remember those days on TikTok. Nate was always there. Always there. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate that. Mostly Penny says, thank you for the truth most of all. Yeah, the truth doesn't belong to me, but I believe I am entrusted to be a messenger of it. So thank you for that. That's what it's all about. Gonna need a much bigger flashlight for the truth in New York City, says Mostly Penny. David Sling says, remember his mixture of impressions? I've loved the trip. There's been a lot of great moments. I mean, the things that we have experienced together, whether it was the Trump assassination, the election of 2024, Charlie Kirk's assassination. I mean, there's just the inauguration. I mean, we've experienced so many amazing moments together here in the last few years. Eli Boy says, shout me out. What's up, Eli Boy? And when did you get a Rumble account? That's what I'd like to know. Mostly Penny says, make your brother take over the show. Well, he better pay me for the 5,000 plus followers I've amassed. I will miss your content. It was the best on the internet and fun. Well, that's a huge compliment. Thank you, Coupons. That is fantastic. Thank you all for your comments. Appreciate that. I'm sorry if you're commenting over on YouTube. It's just there's so many other comments in there that I cannot sort of weed through them to find people that are like decent. Here on the last day, they're still ranting and raving about Trump. So we really do have problems in this country with mental illness, and it's sad. And my hope, I mean, this is what I do for, this is why I do what I do. And that is just the hope that people will learn something and then begin their own journey to start researching the truth and recognize, oh, well, I've always been told this. And then go look into it and go, oh my gosh, I didn't. Okay, this is interesting. What else have I been lied to about? That is the crown jewel of what I'm doing here. That's everything. It is to create that possibility. And so I hope that we get to continue to do that. Mostly Penny says TikTok at night was crazy. That's when it got crazy. That's when it got real crazy. I'm glad those videos aren't archived. You know what I'm saying? Some of the costumes I wore, you know. Okay, I gave you a shout out. You're good. All right. That's going to do it, my friends. It is time to sign off. I want to say thank you to my friends at Right Side Broadcasting for carrying the show and collaborating with me. Thank you all so much. Remember, if you want to follow us in the future, my X feed is at Ike Wingate. It's on the bottom of your screen, as well as Instagram at Ike Wingate. That's primarily where I will be posting content from now on, and I will keep you posted on what's going on. If you want to join the locals group, you can do that at ikenation.locals.com, and I will try to keep you guys up to date with a little more exclusive info in there. And it's also a way that you can support a little bit about what we are doing. All right, my friends, I love you guys. You are the difference makers, the reason why I continued this crazy experiment that somehow has resulted in a real deal opportunity with Newsmax. And I am so grateful to Newsmax. They are incredible. The people there are incredible. The leadership is taking a huge chance on me, and I will not let them down. And I will strive every day to make them very happy with this decision. You can count on that. I will not let them down, and I will not let you down. Your trust means too much, and I'm so grateful for it. Have a fantastic rest of your day, week, month, year. I hope you won't be a stranger. Again, I am completely accessible on X and Instagram, and I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for all you've done to advance this journey, to shine a light into the dark corners of our government, our culture, and our media. And we are just getting started. God bless you, my friends. Remember, the truth is always worth it, isn't it? It's not time to back down because people are pushing against you and blacklisting people telling the truth and targeting people who are doing the right thing. It's time to double down. The only way to drive darkness out is to flood it with light. So let's keep continuing to do that together. I know I'll do my best to do the same, and we'll see what happens from there. So God bless you. God bless America, my friends. Long live Charlie Kirk, and I wish you the best. Godspeed.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.